Welcome back. Today we're building the 1958 Corvette Roadster from Chevrolet in 1/25 by Revell. So I'm starting with the bodywork here. Unfortunately, there's some quite prominent mould seams along the sides of the bodywork here and also around the front. Shame they weren't able to hide them better, here on the back as well. Now I started with some UMP sanding sticks. And it looked to me like I was able to sand them away quite well. I painted these side sections white, and then once they'd cured, I masked them off so that the rest of the car could be done in the body colour. So this had already been primed in white. And then I'm using this Pro Scales paint. This is General Motors Turquoise Metallic, which is a genuine Corvette colour from the 1950s. And this is ready thinned from Pro Scale, so I just put that into my Galeri Swallowtail. And here it is. Most of the Pro Scale paints come out in a matte finish. I'd say that this is sort of semi-gloss because it's metallic. But unfortunately the mould seams were still really prominent even after this, so I realised that I had to stop painting, sand them down as smooth as possible, and then I went back over it. And now I'm happy with how it looks. Now removing that tape to expose the white sections, and yeah, pretty happy with that. And then you've also got these ones that go behind. I'm going to do the chrome trim on those first. Now there's a couple of decals. You've got the little flag decals, the signature Corvette badge. Now there's moulded detail here on the car. So fortunately the fit was pretty good, but if you were worried about the decals fitting over those, you could sand them down before painting. What you would want to sand off though is if you were doing the carbureted version, there's a little text above this, which you can see here, which I'm putting the fuel injected decal over the top. If you were doing the carbureted version, you'd want to sand that off before painting. Now once that had settled, I then gave it 5 coats of LP9 Gloss Clear from Tamiya, and once that had cured, I gave it a light wet sand and polish, not shown that here, and now I'm using this aluminium tape for the chrome parts. There's a lot of chrome on this car, so obviously you can choose how you do it, but I find that actually adding this tape gives it a more accurate metal finish. You could use bare metal foil, which is more expensive. This aluminium tape doesn't bend very well, so instead I'm cutting it into the curved shapes to go around areas like this. These lines at the front taper to a point, so I've cut them in a very, very long triangle. And yeah, pretty happy with how they look. Then you've got these little roof clips at the back. I've chromed around this outside section and then glued these into place using a small amount of super glue. And there's the bodywork finished. Now here's the engine and the gearbox. I tried to put as much of this together before painting it all orange. Obviously the gearbox should be iron, but I'll paint this all orange and then I'll go over the gearbox. And this is being painted in Tamiya orange, and then I've gone over the gearbox in iron. Now these sections at the top, there's many parts which are from the chrome tree that need to be a different colour, so I just went over the top of this in aluminium. You could strip off the chrome with a bit of bleach or something if you wanted. There's the belts and the fan. I found some of the instructions for the engine parts were a little bit difficult to follow. There are some images on the back of the box. For instance, there was one piece which I put on the wrong place in the bottom. Now here's the fuel injected part which goes on the top. This is different if you're doing the carbureted version. Is the engine pretty much finished. Now then, the ladder frame had been painted in semi-gloss black, and it clips on quite nicely. There's a few pieces that go around it. You see this black tank that's in the bottom of the engine. That was in the wrong place. I'll move that and show you where it should have gone in a moment. They're just clamping down these exhaust parts, which were painted in iron. I did drill out the exhaust tips, but funnily enough they're actually all covered once the bodywork goes on. You've got the rear suspension here. Now this sort of needs to be folded under and over the rear of the ladder frame, as you can see here in the instructions, so look closely at how that needs to go before assembling it. Then you've got the drive shaft. And there's a few decals that go on the engine, which I'd forgotten. And some shock absorbers. Now when I was adding the radiator at the front, there should be a couple of hoses, one towards the top and one towards the bottom. I couldn't actually see where the bottom hose went, so I figured that you won't see it once the bodywork's all on, so I just left it off. So the steering arm, don't glue these. And you got some more shock absorbers for the front. Now you've got a few options for the wheels, because you've got these ones, which you can also add these rounded hubcaps to, or you've got these other ones which are the ones from the box. I've gone with those ones, just sanding away the chrome on the back to help them glue. And the tyres have already got the white walls in place in spite of the decals. And you can see how you can just turn the tyre around if you want black walls instead. Now I tried putting the wheels together like this, sandwiching them together, but I found that they just didn't glue together properly. Put the little knockoff spinner on the outside, so there they look finished, but when I tried putting them on, they just fell apart. So I found it's easier to build the wheels outside the tyres, and then once they're cured, fit them in. Then use a little bit of poly cement to attach them to the car. They're all the same, so no issues with front or back. Now the dash here was done in semi-gloss black, and this area around the passenger side in aluminium, and the section around the driver's side, around the dials, was done in gloss black. Then this arm here for the passenger to hit their head on if they crash. Now this little clock here needs to go behind this hole. It recommends leaving it on the paper, but I stuck it onto some styrene card and put a little bit of clear acetate in front of it to make it look more like it's actually got a clock face. Then there's decals which go on this side. And just using a little bit of mark setter to help those fit in. And some little switches around here, and of course the radio as well. Here's the speedo. And the seats moulded into one piece have a bit of body colour in the middle, so I'd done that turquoise first, and then added a bit more aluminium tape for the chrome trim, and the little buttons there added a bit of chrome. Battery goes in here. And you'll see these seat belts that I made, as I didn't like the decal ones. So these are a little bit of a 2mm ribbon, black ribbon, and I've used a bit of aluminium tape for the kind of buckle, and then folded them over themselves so that the one without the buckle is underneath, and yeah, just a little bit of super glue to fit those in. You've got this sort of firewall at the front with the pedals. You've got the arm for the steering wheel, and I drilled the holes through the chrome part of the steering wheel to make it look a bit better. Just see what it would look like. And then painted the outside in matte black. Used a bit of super glue for the steering wheel, and also for the rear view mirror, which goes into the centre of the dashboard, like so. Gear stick was dipped in a bit of white paint for the top and then slotted into place. Here's the door cards, black and silver with a few little details. Follow the instructions for those. Make sure you get them the right way round. They do fold in at a slight angle, and then once they're secured, the dashboard will sit on top of those. Like so. It's all painted black, and also the top of those wheel arches need to be painted black, as you'll see those inside the boot. Good idea to dry fit all these first to make sure you understand how they go together. The section at the front needs to be prized around the engine. These tubes were painted in matte black with some more aluminium tape. I've added a bit of black to the underside of the bonnet here, and the same with the boot. Now, what I did wrong here was I should have put the boot and the bonnet in place before attaching the body. But there we are. Start around the back, prise it around the sides, and make sure it lines up with the interior, particularly the door panels. So here you can see how I'm lifting the body panel off slightly to get the boot lid on. But chrome parts do actually fit really well in the front. And I'm using a bit of super glue here because obviously polycement doesn't work with the chromed pieces unless you sand them off. I have to say this central teeth section here fits really, really well. So yeah, great job there. You'll also notice that I painted the inside of those vents on either side of the grille in matte black, and these bumpers again with a little bit of super glue. The badge piece is the same for the front and the rear. Just make sure you get it the right way up because it's got the Corvette logo moulded in. Headlights with the lenses added already. And there's no holes for the door handles, so try to position them above the door locks. The taillights are the same on both sides. Firstly, start with the chrome housing, and then I used a bit of clear PVA for the red light parts. I also added a little bit of chrome tape right down the middle to make them look more like the real ones. Once you get the screen in, the windows actually fit really well. And then you've got these rear bumper sections, which also have a small black part, I think to show where the exhaust would come out. There we are. Now I chose this photo etch number plate, which I found in the spare box. And there's also these little markers right at the back, which need to be read. I went for the Californian number plate. I always like how these old yellow Californian number plates look. Make sure to test fit the bonnet lots of times, as I found that it needed a bit of sanding to fit nicely. The badges are like so. The real Corvette badges actually have a glass cover on them, but thankfully the carrier film I think looks like that on these. Now the windscreen wipers actually didn't fit very well at all. I found the best way to do it was to add some glue and then stick them to the windscreen. This front number plate thing hangs off these little antenna things at the front. And then I put the same California plate on the front. The roof here is actually just painted in white primer. Then you add the rear screen from the back, just using a small amount of PVA glue to attach that. Final piece was to add the side mirror on this side, just with a little bit of super glue, and there it's finished. Now for the BOAB score. For value, this is about £30, which is okay, but it's an old kit, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. For assembly, it's quite complicated in places, and the fitment isn't great, so I'm also going to give it a 3 out of 5. For accuracy, this is pretty high, and it gives you carbureted or fuel injected, so I'm going to give it a 4. For quality, it's also pretty good. I'm going to give it a 4. And legacy, this is a significant Corvette, significant car, one of the real classics from the 1950s, so it's also getting a 4. That gives this kit a total of 18 out of 25. Do you think that's fair? Do you think I've been too harsh? Have you built one of these kits? Or would you like to? Also, let me know what's your favourite generation of Corvette. Thanks a lot for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I'm going to be on holiday next week, so it may be a while before we get another video, but I'll see you soon.